Hey everybody, we are now live.
We are.
Go ahead and leave any questions you have in the YouTube live chat, and I'll be checking there and bring them up to both the Lazy Warlock and I as we're working on stuff. And Tony, do you want to tell everybody what we're working on?
Yeah, so today I am working on shapeshifting. So it's a feature I have long since put off, but I've been really wanting to get to for a while. So to give a little context, it's not a spell actually, it's a skill that can be learned in the game. And there's all sorts of different things that you can shift into. It's not just animals, but like 95% of the time, you're going to be seeing people, or you yourself, your characters, are going to be shifting into animals. Um, the tricky part of it is that you have to, like, code wise, you have to be able to switch between them, right? And I'm still kind of working out what the actual like mechanics and benefits of shifting is going to be, but in general, it's going to be a stat boost, and then in some cases, you'll be able to get certain things from being that type of animal, right? So if you shapeshift into a rook, which you can do, then you can fly, but you're also going to be susceptible to the standard flying stuff. But the one that we're going to be testing today is wolves, because that's the sprite that I have, um, and I'm going to see how well it works. So today for me, I already have sort of a very basic like shifting code done that I do manually, but I want to be able to do it through a menu eventually. But for now, I need to make it so it works manually, because then it's just translating it to an action when you press a button. So that's what I'm going to be up to.
My bad. Okay. I did hit the push to talk as usual. I see you've got a little wolf there. It looks kind of like a Mexican wolf. It's got some reddish and gray colors in its pelt.
Yeah, so this is actually just the base palette. So all these colors can be replaced in code. And so this is just that I use kind of distinctish looking colors, but still kind of normal looking ones, so that I can pick those palettes when I'm making them. But this will be changed, and that's what I'm going to be testing today to make sure that I can change these colors as well when someone shapeshifts, because every person that shapeshifts is going to have a different base color for their animal. So Sholay should be a red wolf when he transforms in this case.
Oh,
That,
those are
that's the goal at least.
and those are rare actually. Red wolves aren't those the tall lanky guys?
Yeah, and like, it won't be lots of times it won't be, accurate wolves, right? What it's doing is it's kind of taken if anyone's ever played Twilight Princess, right? It's taking the idea of that if you transformed a person into an animal, right, they would take on features of that animal or of that person, sorry, not of the animal. So, um, be it like if they have red hair in this case, like Shirley has red hair, so he'll be like a striking red wolf actually, and that'll be for anything he turns into. So if he turns into a bear, he'll be a big red bear more or less as well. Um, and so I'm going to be playing around the palettes as well to make sure they work and that they look okay. So we'll see how it goes. I have no idea what it's going to look like.
And can you zoom in real quick so we can enjoy the beauty of this pixel art? Oh, and welcome to the chat. We have another person. Yep,
So
yep.
yeah, pretty hard to convey a wolf in just a few pixels, but that's what the basic wolf looks like.
Someone just put a lichen rock in the chat, the red one. I actually really like that Pokemon design, lichen rocks. I think they're really cool, and just
Yeah.
the cute little rock ruffs. I have a sucker for cute. Okay, so is shapeshifting going to be a state change where you're an animal or human and have different abilities between each and can choose to maintain one or the other?
Okay, yeah. So shapeshifting is really interesting in the Nyserian world. There's lots of people and cultures that regularly shapeshift but still use magic because magic is an intuitive thing. It doesn't require drawing runes in the air or even speaking words. And so there's lots of beastly Anvala, for example, who can cast spells just as their giant wolf self or elk self, whatever it may be, right? So when you shapeshift in the game, you take on the unarmed abilities of that animal, and then you get a stat boost, typically to like strength and whatnot, so you can actually fight in melee. But you can't equip weapons. So it kind of does the magic shapeshifty stuff where your equipment and whatnot sort of transforms into your being or is put into a pocket dimension, whatever it may be. So it kind of locks out your equipment for the time being, but you can use trinkets still. So if you got rings and stuff, then it kind of it would in the world, if I had more detail, it would show up as like earrings or whatever on them. But in general, when you transform, you can only use magic and trinkets. You can't use weapons or armor or shields and stuff.
Nice. So it kind of follows D&D shapeshifting rules, I guess.
Yep, but with like a little extra, because in D&D there's these requirements for spell casting, right? And there's no such thing in Nysera. So if you did translate this to a Nyserian world, this like to a D&D setting, if you did a Nyserian D&D setting, then druids would get that little buff, would get quite a buff actually, because then they could transform into, say, a bear, and then they could cast spells as that bear, just stomping people and taking hits and shooting lightning bolts out of their face. So it should be pretty neat.
And then also, just let us know if the audio and etc. is good to go. We actually have a new stream format, so if you click into the YouTube live stream right now, you'll see some fancy new stuff. But as this is a new thing, just let us know if we're too loud or if one of us is too soft, etc. We put in a lot of extra time um, the in the last weekend to make sure that the viewing experience for you guys is so much better. It has been like legit shitty streaming as we're bumbling through it and figuring it out. So really appreciate you guys' patience and all. But yeah, for those of you who just joined, I see we got a couple more folks on the YouTube side. We're actually holding this stream in the Discord right now in one of our voice channels. So we kind of do that to like make sure the folks who want to see us either in YouTube or Discord, they just have the option to do both. And when you're in Discord, you can actually pop up the um, uh, Tony's screen and see it with better clarity because you can full screen it, etc. YouTube Live, it's just a tiny bit different format. So that's really the only difference. So, yeah. And then I think in Discord too, you don't get like the little gold trim or whatever extra doodads we have on the screen. But yeah, so for those of us who just joined, Tony is working on one of the things that he set out to work on for this sprint. We're in sprint number 2. So we've already gone through the first 2 weeks of game development, sprint number 1. And sprint number 2 is another 2 weeks, and this is the second week. Last week we posted a Feature Friday update on the firearms and bombs that he worked on, and now he's going through all of the spells, and this is one of them. This is a spell that allows players to shapeshift. In front of you, you can see a red wolf, and we're gonna incorporate that into the game, and yeah, it'll be a good time.
Yeah, so again, quick little detail. It's not a spell actually. There are spells that let you change into other things, but it's actually a special skill. So you don't use it as like a spell normally.
Oh yeah, sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It's just like, yeah, I mean, it's a very small distinction in the game, honestly. But it's actually, so the way you'll use it in the game is you'll click on the unit, and there will be literally a thing that pops up that says special. And when you click on special, it shows a list of your special actions, and one is shapeshift. So um, if you are a druid, you have the shapeshift skill already that like turn into animals. But there is some spells as well that will let you like that they're a spell technically, but all they use the same method. So they actually just like apply that. They add to that list more or less. But anyways,
Ooh, some drama in the workplace. I won't mention it here, but that stinks, my dude. But yeah, not a spell. Sorry about that.
and this is the icon that shows what animal you've shifted into. In this case, it'll be a wolf.
Gosh, I love your pixel art, Tony.
So unfortunately, this won't be able to change like colors, not unless I really want to put some effort into it. But I like how detailed it is, and so I'm just gonna leave it as like the wolf icon.
What? It's not like Beast Boy where you turn all green?
Yeah.
Dang it. Yeah. Ah, one of the first wolves in Lords of Nysera was Spectre, actually.
Yep. Spectre.
Tony
He's
made.
a pretty special wolf, actually. He's. Hey, you can talk about him.
No. I like it when you talk about him. He's like one of my favorite creatures in Lords of Nysera.
Yeah. So Spectre is one of he's a special wolf. He's not just like a regular old wolf hanging out in the woods. Um, he comes from more or less a group of the Uvanmir. They're a group of the Anvala who pretty much became animals and didn't want to go back, and so they have a lot of innate magical abilities. And his is he likes phasing through things, so he learned how to use astral and chaos magic to make duplicates of himself and to phase through objects. And so, hence the name Spectre because he can literally just pass through stuff. And he's very late in the story. He doesn't show up in Lords of Nysera. He's actually he's a puppy when they first find him in the later stories. So he's very new to the world, but he's a cool little fluff. Big white wolf.
Oh, he's so adorable.
I drew little pictures of him a long time ago, and I don't know where they went. But he does hang out with Unaya, so he will show up actually in the game, but as just like an NPC, like a portrait more or less. It's this big floofy wolf that checks in on her. Okay.
So I'm really curious what people like about Wreck-It Wednesday because I know probably most of us don't really know what's going on in the code. So go ahead and put it in chat. Like, what do you like? someone already said that they really like the art.
Thank you. Let's see if it actually works. Yeah, the art's very fun. It's my favorite thing to do is just drawing stuff and adding cool bits here and there. The next animal I get to add to the game is going to be a bear, so that's going to be really fun.
Okay, bears are always entertaining to play.
In fact, the shapeshift skill icon is a person shifting into a bear.
Yeah, bears are crazy powerful. I was actually just watching a documentary about bears, and it is nuts. Just as they move, you just see.
Oh, nope, we got a bug instead.
Oh, well, we love those. Those are interesting. Oh, also, so why do people like Wreck-It Wednesday? They say, it's neat seeing the engine manipulated outside the normal bounds. And yeah, I agree with that statement because, for example, Hyper Light Drifter and other games that have really stretched its people's perception of the engine, you know, really stretched to see to showcase like what it can actually do. Um, yeah, so one of the comments, Tony will downplay his coding, but I can recognize pretty quickly that he knows how to do what he wants to do.
I don't very often come across something in the game that I don't know how to approach, right? Most of the time when I'm adding features, I can just kind of run and just like bull my way into it, and it usually comes out fine. It's the things I'm finding I struggle with are optimization and like these like snazzy little ways to make your game run really well. Because there's just funny things with Game Maker that I'm starting to learn about, and one of them is like people say that there's micro stutter problems with Game Maker in general, and I don't know what to do about that, right? Like I don't know how to optimize a game to not have micro stutters, but I'm also like not much of an FPS kind of guy, right? Like I can play a game running at 30 FPS and not complain. Like I've been playing New Vegas lately with like a bazillion mods, and the game even on my computer runs like crap. Because it's just not like a super well optimized game. But I don't care because I have fun with it. So I need to learn to prioritize some things that I'm not too concerned about usually. Yep. So he turned into a wolf this time.
Hmm?
But did he recolor?
Oh, you're just gauging from the code itself.
I mean, you can see that it turned into the wolf.
Oh, I
Boop,
can't see.
boop, boop, boop.
I think you're sharing the window, but not your full screen.
Oh, okay. Let me redo that.
Okay, we're gonna just. All right, we're back. We just had to make sure he was sharing his full screen. We had no idea that he was testing this out. Okay. Um. All right, so we have another answer for why do we like Wreck-It Wednesdays? It shows that you love your art, Tony. Your characters are simply amazing. So
Oh, thank you.
that is actually a really interesting point because we've gotten quite a bit of feedback on the cheekbones of the characters. So actually, someone specifically said that the cheekbones are very uncanny in one of our YouTube videos. And that's kind of been twirling in my mind a little bit because I don't know if that's something we would want to address and change to make sure that, like visually we're not putting people off that much, but also not really sure like how much that I guess, population of fans like dislike the cheekbones. I have no way to gauge that just yet. Um, and then the other thing about Wreck-It Wednesday we love is just hearing you. Oh goodness, I got a frog in my throat. I like just hearing you two talk about the game, difficulties, things you're doing, etc. You make it really entertaining. I think that is something that we really enjoy doing, and um, it occurred to me that we do a lot of updates and we almost overshare, right? I don't think there's anything we haven't shared that's new, except for um, obviously spoilers for the story. But anything that we're currently working on game wise, you guys already know about. Okay. Cat cheese. You're so funny. I love it. Um, so they commented about the cheekbones. They said, I don't think that the cheekbones are off putting. I think that people are maybe used to waifu teenage warriors.
Yeah, on the topic of cheekbones, right? Like, I do have a distinct like shading to the side of the face, right? Because there are planes to the face, believe it or not. They are not this round plate that has even shading. And a lot of, especially like old Fire Emblem games, they kind of lack um, facial structure, which is just like it's not a problem so much as it's just the style of like a lot of anime, even old anime, just doesn't really do that very much, right? Um, and so it's going to be different than what people are used to because I was kind of classically trained. I learned how to just like do anatomical faces, right? And it doesn't really lend itself well to, like you said, the kind of almost chibi-esque waifu style, honestly. Like if you looked at the even like Three Houses, right? Three Houses has a lot of samey faces with different hairstyles. Because that's what's popular, that's what sells, and that's what people appreciate and think looks pretty. So um, it is funny that people say it looks uncanny. It's definitely my style too. Like I tend to have more pronounced cheekbones, um, but eh, I don't know what to say about that.
Or so is it something that you might consider addressing or
I think I'm always in a state of revising my art, right? Like it's a constantly evolving thing. I go back and redo characters all the time. Sometimes it's small edits. Sometimes it's just like I look back at them and like, oh, this needs to be improved because I just wasn't doing a good job with it, right? And so I have no problem with going back and redoing some of the artwork, especially if I feel like it's a visual improvement, right? Or if it's like consistent between things. Because like one thing I've noticed is that when I'm drawing a character, I tend to like my influence as to how I think they look comes into it, but it also makes lots of the characters a little inconsistent um, with certain very specific things that bother me, but probably don't bother anybody else. Like one of them is the size of the face, right? People have varying sizes of heads, believe it or not. Um, just as people can be taller or shorter, your faces can be taller or shorter or wider or thinner. And so faces tend, because there's variation, I like to have variation in how people look. I think it's sort of a natural human thing, but that also means that when you try and put their face into like a frame, like for the character frames that you see like up in the upper left hand corner all the time, right? Of like just the little face, it means that some people's faces take up a lot more of that space and some people's take up way less. And that bothers me visually, even though it's not really a big deal because it makes me feel like, oh, this person's head is way too small now. When if I like go in there and I measure it pixel by pixel, it's actually not that much different. But because I did like a variation in how their face is like pointing or something, it bothers me. So I'm not opposed to changing things, especially if I like the change. but I probably will not change up my entire visual style anytime soon because it's just like a ton of work. Like to go back through every character and redo them all would be so much work,
Right, right, right.
especially in a style I'm not familiar with, right?
Right, yeah. Now, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Plus, we are making a game, and the game is going to be made firstly. So, if there is going to be some changes to just the art itself, I think that's better left to modders in the community who are going to change the art style anyways. We'll just have, a solid game for folks to key off of to add their own artistic touches, which I'm actually really excited for, and I've told that to people who have inquired about the art style. Is, I'm looking forward to opening the game up to the modding community because if, like, for example, with Stardew Valley, I customize the hell out of my game, and it should actually be something that uh, developers should invite because it's so much more fun. Like, just as a fellow player, modding is great. And wouldn't you want to see your own game evolve as well and see it take on new art styles and just see what other people come up with? Like, I think that's actually a compliment.
Yeah, like, and on the topic of Stardew, I don't know if Concerned Ape made the modding system for Stardew or not, though. I have to look that up. He probably did. He probably did make Smappy, which I think is what it's called. Um, because like lots of times, right? Like if a game is popular enough, um, people will find a way to mod it, right? Um, even if it's not mod friendly necessarily from the way it's developed, people will find a way. But it would be nice to gear lots of the assets and restructure the registries to be easily modded, right? To just easily add in stuff and change things.
Someone said, people have bones in their face. Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought too, right? It's like that there's like something there.
It's so funny.
It's why like you never see a whole like you don't see a ton of anime faces at like specific angles, right? Because after a while, that does get uncanny if it's like, where's the shading? Where is their face actually?
I've been thinking we should have music in our streams. And this is not a new thought. This is actually like something that was recommended by the community. Uh, but maybe I can add on some a sneak peek of like a full track, right? Of I guess that's not a sneak peek, but like sneak peek of the album. Because some folks got the digital music tier, so or add on. So I could add a track to just peruse.
Yeah, I mean, when I've been doing my artwork, I usually just put on like tracks from the game.
Cool. Okay. Do you have a specific track in mind, Tony, that you want me to put on? I'll be DJ.
I mean, any of them works. I like to play the player themes. So,
Okay.
do you have access to all of them?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
I basically have all of your passwords now. But yeah, I love, love, love the music. In fact, reminds me, this is really not related. So I do apologize ahead of time, but it is an interesting topic nevertheless. So I've been taking a look around since we've been talking in the Discord server a lot about like Kickstarters that raised a lot of money. And I mean a lot of money, like hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars to create games. And then the games didn't end up panning out. It has been a really interesting topic because, you know, we're no longer just a player. It hits differently, right? Being a developer now. To see people who have gone before you and have had a shit ton of resources, and then it just goes down the toilet, you know, and you're just wondering what the hell happened. So how does music tie into this? You're probably wondering. So Rising Phoenix is a Kickstarter around the golden age of Kickstarters. I think this was around the same time Star Citizen came out, I think. It was kind of where Kickstarter had like the peak trust, right? People nowadays kind of doubt, like we've heard, you know, some folks who have reached out to us and they're like, hey, I don't back Kickstarters as like a rule of thumb. You know, that came from somewhere. That came from broken trust, you know, from games like or Kickstarters like Rising Phoenix. But the director producer, he's a musician, and he's actually a fantastic, phenomenal musician. You know, it was just his first time like directing a game. So I just thought that was really interesting because he later, in one of these interviews with a magazine, he later confessed like, hey, this was my first game, you know, like I can make really great music, but it's like this was my first run making a game. And that response seemed very realistic to me, you know, because I don't think a whole lot of people would know what to do if they suddenly got millions of dollars in funding and it's like their first game, and then now the expectations to fulfill on their ambition is so much higher. Like that would be a crap ton of pressure for sure. But this somehow ties into music, you guys. Somehow. And on that note, I'm going to put on some music for us. Yeah, and see how you guys like it. Our composer is Adam Bow, right, Tony?
Yeah. Yep, that's Adam.
Okay. B-O-W is his last name. I'm always hesitant because for some reason, like I think one time I said his last name wrong, and then now I'm like doubtful every single time I say his last name. And it's not that hard. I don't know why. I'm just challenged. Okay, let's see any comments here. Ooh. Yeah, so we have some fellow devs on the Discord server, and one of them is working on Aspect Heroes, which has been so much fun to just watch, and it's always fascinating to see like the development of someone else's game while you're developing yours, right? So it just feels more like a community when you're just sharing what you're working on, you know. So it's been a lot of fun. You guys should check it out. Aspect Heroes. On that note, so in response to the Kickstarters that raised a lot of money, someone commented, I think people who overfund on Kickstarter have a lot higher deliverable than maybe they can handle too, even if they're not just biting off more than they can chew. Any thoughts on that, Tony?
Can you repeat that?
People who overfund on Kickstarter have a lot higher deliverable than they can handle.
Mm.
And that's like on top of their original project. Like when you gain even more funding than you had originally thought, then the deliverable just exponentially increases.
Yeah, I mean, especially if they weren't planning on it, right? Boy, yeah, I don't know exactly what to think about that, right? Because I put my goals like in year spans, right? Like where the game would be released at the time I want, and then after that would be all these cool updates. Like those were the stretch goals, right? Would be these cool things to get added in later. Um, but yeah, honestly, like I don't really know. I think lots of times, if a game especially balloons out of control with like the stuff that's being added and whatnot, I think definitely developers can get overwhelmed and not be ready. But I also find that lots of times when these big projects, they really sell the Kickstarter, right? Um, but they put all the effort into selling the Kickstarter, and they don't really have a plan as to how to get everything done. They don't really. Sometimes they're paying off debts even. I've come to find like there's these devs and sometimes creators that they're paying their bills more or less, right, with the Kickstarter, and then the money evaporates and they don't have any money left to make the game, and then it just collapses. So I don't know, honestly, like the whole Kickstarter like world is very strange, especially because there's simultaneously people that are literally scamming people out of their money, right? It's gotten a bad rap for that. And then there's people who are not business people like me trying to do things and who get way in over their head. And then, like you said, when it gets really high with like the funding, people expect a really, really in, like insanely good product, right? And if you're not prepared to make that happen, then man, I don't know. I've set myself for doable expectations, right? So I don't think there will be a problem for us in any way. But I can see where if people suddenly have so much to prove, I guess, because of how much was donated, then it could get out of hand. But I'm just kind of rambling at this point.
Well, let's see what chat has to say. Oh, actually, chat has a question. So, this comes from Chat G. Or Chat G. Cat G. How do you determine your color palettes?
So in this case, I'm doing a kind of a quick one, but lots of times I can actually open. Have a neat little worksheet. Yeah, so this is my big old worksheet that I do color paletting on. Get rid of that thing. And then I have just all these different nations and skin types that I try out. So not all of them are organized super well. But you can see I just kind of like, I test them out and then make sure they look visually okay. And then plop it into my file that it can grab the palette from. And sometimes they don't mesh perfectly well with like different hair and skin colors, but you know, for the most part, it works out well.
Alright.
But in this case, all I'm doing is trying to just get a hair color. Because I realized I didn't have like red, like blood red hair. I had like orangey hair. and sort of a brownish red, but I didn't have just red.
Cool. They say, looks great, Tony.
Thank you.
And I'm going to turn up the music for the folks in YouTube. Wow, the music sounds really nice, actually. Okay. Can we do a quick audio test for the people on YouTube?
You need me to help?
Yeah, just do testing.
Testing. Testing.
Okay, sounds good. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so the music is going to be on YouTube Live. Kind of interesting how that works. I could probably throw it in chat here. Oh, wait, maybe I can't. Let's see. Yeah, you would have to log into the YouTube Live for... So this soundtrack is called Among Friends. It's a conversation soundtrack we'll use for the game. Developed by, or composed by Adam Bow. And Tony, you already have Adam working on the rest of the tracks. I think like 20 plus tracks left.
Yep. Yeah. So we're starting that out now. So first thing he's going to be working on is a tracks for the Velt Winnie. So it'll be gloomy and sad and probably a little terrifying because it'll be in an area where you're fighting in probably one of the worst places to live in Nysera against a bunch of people who have learned how to live there. So it should be pretty cool.
Cool, yeah. So someone in chat said the track is really great.
Yeah, Adam does a great job. Always impressed by his work.
He worked on a game called Death and Taxes, which is a very fun game. I can put it in chat here, but it's kind of like a sarcastic take on how death works, where death is actually an organization, like a corporate organization, where handling the death of things, it just comes down to like paperwork and filing things away. It's kind of funny. What a pun. Catchy said he does a damn good job. It's more noticeable when it's written out. But yeah, Death and Taxes is really cool. It makes death really unglorified. Like, my favorite part of Death and Taxes is the people who work for the plants department having to log every single blade of grass that dies. Like, everybody knows that if you work in the plant department, you just have a really shitty time. Let me see if I can put another track in here. I always like the cavern one.
Oh yeah, that one's great.
And some of these tracks we put on the Kickstarter too. Kickstarter page. I think we put like 4 of them, and the cavern scene was one of them. Oh, I found it. Okay, I'll get that in here. I really want to get all of the music on a vinyl someday.
That would be sweet.
It really would be. And we could choose the splash color, or the design of the vinyl too, which I'm curious what you would make it. You don't have to answer that right now as you're scrolling through code, and I don't want you to lose your place, but I can already imagine it. Because he collects vinyls, and there's some vinyl designs that are magnificent. Sometimes I'll have like a splatter on them. I know the Last of Us vinyl is incredible because it looks like almost like a petri dish, like something you would expect out of a zombie apocalypse kind of vinyl, so it looks very eerie. So yeah, I would love to have a vinyl one of these days. I know that your pun is a dad joke for sure, Catchy. It's quite obvious, don't you think? Oh, how do you know that joke is a dad joke when the punchline is apparent? Oh my god. I hate that. Oh, why? I like how I only read the first part of that and then realized as I was reading it that there's a second part to it, and it just made it worse and better at the same time. Yeah, there we go. So someone posted the Last of Us vinyl in chat, and yeah, it does have that splatter petri dish look. It's so awesome. Okay, how are we doing on time? We got like 10 minutes, Tony. Time goes by so fast.
Sure does.
And I still have to put on another track. Let me get that for you guys. This one's a little louder. I'm going to turn it down a bit.
Cool.
Okay, so what are we looking at here, Tony?
Well, it recolored all the wolves, so I can't zoom in super well. But for some reason, Gaul lost his face. But
Gaul just embodies the wolf. He just became
Yeah.
the wolf.
So I transformed all these guys into wolves and got their palettes working. So you can see like Sholi and Ania, they both have red fur with like a little bit of, they have like their goldeny legs. And then you got blonde Artemir here. Perrine is like this dark brown wolf. Carlin is like this gray and white. Gaul is missing, but supposed to be kind of a brown and white. And then Marshad is a white on tan, or golden. Rianne is another blonde and white. Ferania is brown and gold. Devia is white as well. So, and then Lano is like kind of a cool black and white.
That's
So
awesome.
it's working, which is great. I
It
think I don't know if I can change how their weapons look or how their eyes look, but that's okay. I mean, they're still changing into the right colors. So,
Okay.
so far I'm happy with that.
Okay, and then do the attacks work.
Oh yeah, I mean, like for now I was just trying to make sure that it properly grabs the sprites, so they're still going to be able to use like weapons and whatnot. But let's see.
Shinobi wolf.
Oh, I can show off the new spell.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we can do that, and then we got about 8 minutes left here. So we could just talk about anything that folks like. Ooh. Rock wall.
Yep, so it creates a rock wall. And then,
It's impassable.
yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of space here. So, like, things that can move far are fine.
Nice. Is it... So, how many blocks can you lay down per spell?
So you can make 2 lines, and it depends on what range you have as well. So I'll do kind of a better demonstration with it the next turn here. Just gotta wait a little bit because there's a lot of units and this map isn't super optimized.
Okay, somebody just... Catchy just posted doggos holding knives.
Yeah, so you can see how it just blocks off
Can
movement.
you fire ranged weapons over it?
Oh yeah,
Cool. Yeah, it gives
so
it
these
range.
guys can attack normally.
Nice. Yeah,
Flyers can fly over it.
yeah.
And it is a raised area, so people who are up there, they do get their like
Oh,
height
that's
bonus.
perfect. Actually, that's how I would probably utilize this spell, is to give my archers more defense, because it increases the defense of the area, right?
Yeah, so just a little bit gives them a little bit of defense
And more range.
and just a little bit more reach. Yep.
Yeah, so... Chat asks, you can use any ranged weapons over it, or is there a limit?
Right now there's no limit. I mean, it doesn't like reduce range, which might be a neat way to like, if you're not on it, right, it reduces the range
I
you
would
can
say
shoot over.
so. Yeah.
That'd be a little tricky to implement, but it would work technically.
Yeah, that's actually a good point, because when I was going through the prologue, which has a series of mountain ranges, I know that
Windwolf.
you can't like... Okay, that's actually kind of cool. It'd be cool if while you're a wolf, you can still cast spells. You just can't use items and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's how it's gonna be.
Oh, really? Ooh.
Yeah, because like spell casting is all a mental, like it's more or less psychics. It's not like you don't have to wave your hands or anything for it.
Fire wolf.
So yeah, you can literally just like fireball as a wolf. So
Okay, that's awesome. Or as a bear. Throw fireball
yeah,
as a bear.
yeah. So like here I'll show the other ability that I just made.
Okay. Yeah, but about the mountain ranges, I think it would be useful to actually have like you've got like mounds, like what you're showing on the screen, and then you have mountain ranges that are gonna completely cut off line of sight and range weapons of all kinds.
Yeah, you know, like that isn't a thing I can do.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, because
Because it
like,
doesn't make sense that they could fire over an entire mountain range.
right. Excuse me.
Especially if you have a firearm. Like something that's in a straight line. I would
Oh, I'd
say,
have to give it to him. That's right.
I'd
Well, we'll just close this out really quick.
like, so chat said, like, I don't know, would I be able to use firearms or throwing knives over it? Like, I would agree anything that is something that has to travel in a straight line, you can't pass through it, but something you can volley over, like an arrow. I guess, like, a bomb, too, like a throwing bomb, but, like, firearms, you know, that's a straight line. Some spells are just a straight line, you know, maybe.
Because like arrows, you can just, you know, pew, shoot it at an arc over
Yeah.
the top of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that would be an interesting tactical choice to add in. And then like the thing is though, like if you're in say a mountain yourself, right? So you station your guy on the top of a mountain, they can shoot down from the mountain, but mountains like, and they could be attacked while they're up there, right? Because then you have to add like data values in for where they are in the mountain, right? Are they on the side of the mountain, or are they on the peak of the mountain, or are they on the other side of the mountain, right? It starts getting really tricky to code that kind of stuff in. Um, like doing the height system alone was a huge pain because there's so many distinctions you have to make. So it'll be something that we can play around with. But for now, like it's already complex enough because the more checks you have to add into, the slower the range drawing gets, right? If every time you have to check a tile, you have to check is tile mountain or is tile height or does tile block, right? That's one more line of code that has to be checked when you know you're spawning, when you're checking like this much range, right? You're checking all of these tiles every single time. Um, you know, it can be a huge, huge data sink if you're not careful. So, and so I'm learning to rein myself in a little bit with like making things that make sense, you know, in a realistic way, but are actually really code-wise difficult to do. And who knows if it makes it even a fun experience, right? If like, and then there's the whole aspect of like AI too, like an AI in the game, the NPCs, making sure they know that a mountain blocks their view, stuff like that, right? So we'll start with just like a simple system that works, and then we can add in extra settings later that complicate it even more.
By the way, someone asked for full screen on YouTube Live, so I'll probably switch that over in a little bit here. But yeah, thanks for joining us. Okay, I'm gonna switch it on over for you guys. So, for you YouTube livers, it'll be a couple seconds here.
Oh, nope. More bugs.
Alrighty, we're back. And this is as far as I can go, you guys, because Tony's screen is actually much larger than the average screen. So what we could probably do for you guys is zoom in a little bit so you don't see like the left-hand side. But that is pretty much as far as we could go. Let me see if I can play around with it real time. Let's see. We'll just cut off the left-hand side here. So we get a little bit more, and perhaps even the right-hand side, so you can just see the coding.
So everyone can see what's going on still?
Yeah, everybody can see what's going on.
Okay,
Still.
I'm going to show off one more spell.
Okay. Yeah, just let me know, you guys, if that works for you. Again, we're working with this wide computer, so it's very thick computer.
So this one is Tremor. So it does a location at the unit in a square formation, but it doesn't have any range, so you have to be right up close to use it. And it'll destroy, it sort of disrupts the terrain too. And all these guys are like higher level too, so that's why they avoid lots of these attacks. So it doesn't look like it's doing much, but because Friend is level 6 and they're level 30-ish. Still did pretty good though. Yeah, so you can see that there's rough stone now all over the place, which again, it's not going to be very useful looking at it here, but it does impede movement just a little bit. And one cool thing about the earth wall too is you can break the walls.
Nice. And Rogue, you're not too late. Welcome, welcome. We're kind of in the tail end of it. We usually do the coding, and that's most of the stream, and then a little bit towards the end is when we test things out. He's actually showing us some stuff he worked on previously, the week before, or actually no, a couple days ago. Sorry. Okay, and then someone from chat said, I don't know why, but I imagine sending your guy to shoot from atop the mountain. They travel 2 weeks through a forest and up the mountain, only for the fight to be done by the time they reach the peak. Yeah.
Yep, so you can break these. So the animation's a little wonky because the depth, for whatever reason, is wrong. But you can see you can break through it, and then characters can move right on through.
Very nice, very nice.
Yep. So it's not a permanent blockade, but it is very good at slowing down people. All right.
The Earth Raisin animation. Yeah. Agreed. I love, love, love spells. And this one, well, honestly, like we have a couple terrain altering spells. We have an ice bridge one that we have in one of our videos. I'll probably make a YouTube short out of it eventually. But yeah, I love spells. We both love spells, especially Tony. He usually plays some kind of spellcaster mage whenever we play in our D&D games. But then he usually ends up being a barbarian anyways, so I don't know why.
All right. Well, I'm going to be working on this the rest of the night, but I think that's it for the stream, right?
Yeah, yep, we're a little bit over time, about 4 minutes over, and throw your last questions our way. I'll give it a minute, and then you can extend the stream out with your questions. But otherwise, we're gonna close this one up. And oh, Okay. All right, we're back. Sorry. Tony had to switch his screen, but I think he forgot to tell me. Okay. So we do have a question from chat here. In a normal mission, are there likely to be so many units in the field? We've gotten this question before. I can actually handle this one. And hey, Tony, just be careful about sharing Discord on your
Yeah,
screen.
I have to go to Discord to turn off the
Okay.
streaming though.
Okay, cool. Yeah, just give me a heads up, and then so I can protect people's privacy. But yeah, so great question. So essentially, the answer to that one is, we are testing things out in this room. It's like the dev testing room. So you see a shit ton of units on the screen. Because of that, that's not actually like a chapter or any official part of the game. It's just our dev room.
Yeah, that's literally like I actually spawn one of every type of unit that I have just to make sure that the sprites themselves are animating correctly, and that I can look at all their skills that they're supposed to have, and so on and so forth. So it's purely for a testing environment. There are some battles that do have a lot of units, like you will face armies in some cases. Um, but not in like that weird sort of mishmashed like just line like that of just like a bunch of random units. That's specifically for testing purposes.
Yeah, yeah. And honestly, and I know this screen is a little wonky here. Tony, you did this to me. But we have like a couple battles that are a little bit longer than others, just because they have more units, right? But we do understand that long battles doesn't make better battles, especially as players of or D&D players. This is something that D&D suffers from, and there's nothing.
The nice thing at least is that you can save too. You can save during the battles, and so at any time if you're ever finding like, oh, okay, I need a break or I need to go do something else, right? You can just save it at any time and leave the game alone. So even for the big battles, at least you don't have to do it all in one in one setting.
Exactly. And it looks like that sums up the questions for the night. We have Reddit Wednesdays every Wednesday at 7 p.m. PST. You can join us there. We also have what we call Speaker Sundays, where we stream, and sometimes we'll just have a topic in mind. But every other Sunday, we will do a recap of just what we accomplished and in the past 2 weeks. So just to keep people updated about the game. So thanks for joining us tonight. This has been a lot of fun, you guys, and we just love your questions and keep them coming. You guys are great, and if you haven't joined the Discord just yet, if you want to contribute to the game's development, go ahead and see us there. You can talk to us directly. Otherwise, enjoy your evening. Have a great one. Stay safe out there for the holidays, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.